Hey girl, welcome back to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm your coach, Alycia Darby. Today's special guest is Rachael Todd, Miss United States 2017, and she's got a really cool background, everything from positive psychology, like she was trained in positive psychology and in health and nutrition, and she's used all of her knowledge to really get her to the place she is today in living a life as a title holder long before you even win your pageant. So she's going to bring to you today 4 very specific tips and one awesome challenge that is going to radically change your life. I totally promise you. So without further ado, here's Rachael. Hi, Rachael. Welcome to the Win a Pageant podcast. I'm happy to have you on.
Thank you. I'm so excited we were finally able to make this happen.
Yes, absolutely. I know your schedule is like a total whirlwind. I can't wait to talk all about it. But for people who do not know you or your title, would you just share a little bit about your background and your background in pageantry and what you are up to this year?
Absolutely. So my current title is Miss United States 2017, and I competed on July 8th in Orlando, Florida, and I was successful at claiming the title. So it has been about 3 months now that I've had the title. And my background in pageantry started actually in college. I was 20 years old attending the University of Central Florida, and I saw a poster for Miss UCF. And to be completely transparent, that was my end goal. I thought, why don't I just be the queen of my school? I never had a date to homecoming or prom, and I thought, if I could be the queen of UCF, that would be like the ultimate cherry on top. I was so embarrassed to go to all those dances when I was growing up, and that was my dream, was to be Miss UCF. And I had no idea that would lead me to winning the title of Miss Florida within the Miss America organization, then competing for the title of Miss America in 2010. And then I went and did graduate studies and did some self-taught research and some traveling, and it's been wonderful. So I kind of took a little break from pageantry being on stage and then popped back up this year, and here we are.
Yeah, such a cool story because you really have done incredible work in your professional life that I think really has prepared you so well internally to step on that stage. Can you share a little bit about your background professionally?
Absolutely. So I love that you brought that up, because I always tell people that when I went to Miss Florida, it was my first time competing on a stage like that. And I showed up, and there were 48 women, I believe, that year at Miss Florida. And my first phone call that night from the dormitory was to my mother, and I was crying. And I said, I don't belong here. I have no idea what's going on. I am completely overwhelmed. Probably not using those words because I didn't speak that well back then, but I felt so out of place. And she just said, honey, you're there for a reason. You have prepared for this. All that you can do is be yourself and bring your best face forward and your heart forward and all of those things that moms say to us, but it still didn't help. I spent the entire week self-sabotaging myself. I did my best on stage, but as we all know, the interview is the most important. And so what was incredible is that at that exact same period of my life, I was going through a lot of personal stuff at home. My father had left our family, and my mom was dealing with that. I was inadvertently helping emotionally to support my mother. I was graduating college. I was competing in this competition that I felt I had no business competing in. And my family had decided to start a nonprofit organization, and this was in 2008, 2009, for families facing crisis. What they didn't know is that my family was facing crisis. And so I was going out and speaking on behalf of our foundation, Hope, all over my area, Seminole County, Florida, Central Florida. And I was speaking to women's groups, Rotary clubs. I was speaking to church organizations. I was speaking to Girl Scout troops, whoever would let me come and speak to them. And I, to this day, swear that was my best preparation. I didn't know that pageant coaching existed. I just knew that if they gave me the job of Miss Florida, that I had already been working the job of Miss Florida before I won. And so that's what I brought to the interview. Oh, so that was, yes, professionally. That really just kind of spurred an incredible career of spokesmodeling, doing print, commercial work, runway. As Miss Florida, I was given a few opportunities to do those things, which was awesome. As we know, Miss America is very focused on platforms. So a lot of my appearances were for hunger and homelessness and working with those organizations. But the modeling experiences were woven into my year. It wasn't until I finished with my term as Miss Florida that I really pushed forward with modeling, spokesmodeling, being on the road. I mean, just those experiences alone are an incredible learning device to just really mature you quick. You learn a lot when you're in airports and hotels by yourself.
So true. Yes. So one of the things that you are going to share with the listeners today is about how to prepare for your pageant, really for your life, before you even compete for the pageant. And I think that that's what you're describing with all that experience on the road, traveling, and through various things. Like, that's really your hotspot. I know you're fixing the mic there. Thanks for doing that. Yeah, we'll make sure we can still hear you. So there are 4 specific things that you've carved out that you believe are really keys to success in pageantry, but also in life. So let's dive in. Share with me the first one of those.
Yeah, so I really just pulled these 4 pieces. Today we're going to talk about emotional and spiritual part of preparation, the mindset part of your preparation, platform, and your physical and nutritional preparation. And so I really just wanted to talk first about emotional and spiritual aspect of getting ready for a pageant.
Great. Yeah. Because this is huge. And I know you've done a lot of work in positive psychology. And of course, I've watched your journey over the last year getting into your state and then watching you through the national pageant. And you've really lived it. So tell us about that piece. What do you think is most important?
I think so. I first want to preface with the fact that I despise when the question on stage pertains to what is the first thing you're going to eat or what are you going to do as soon as this pageant is over. And that we all take, not we, I shouldn't include myself in that, but I have witnessed a lot of contestants take that bait and they like to make a statement that they're going to go eat meat-loaded pizza, a burger,
Yeah.
thank you, and nachos and French fries and all of the things that everybody knows that we shouldn't be eating. And so I have to preface with the fact that, like, I think there's such an opportunity that we're missing as contestants when we're given that question to say, it's not just about this night tonight on this stage. What I have done to prepare for this pageant plays into every aspect of my life and makes me who I am. And I don't just walk off this stage and ditch every bit of work that I've done in order to get here. And I actually find it a little bit offensive that you would think that that's what I'm going to go do right after this pageant. I'm actually going to go home and continue working on myself and continue becoming a better version of myself and dig in deeper. And if given the title, I will take what I've built already and build upon that to go be the best title holder that I can be. I just find it a little bit like you're almost playing into the stereotype that we starve ourselves in order to be on that stage. And I mean that mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And you're giving them the permission to keep giving us that stereotype. So I think there's an opportunity there to turn that around. So I just wanted to say that that's really what inspired our talk today, is talking about not just the 3 months before the pageant, not just 90 days before the pageant. This is 365 days a year. If you're committing to becoming this person that you're talking about being, if you want to be Miss America, Miss USA, Miss State, then you have to live it. So the first aspect of that is the emotional and spiritual side of things. And I really always just relate this back to knowing who you are inside and out. And, when we're growing up, people say, like, know thyself and you have to know who you are. I always ask, like, okay, well, how do I do that?
Yep, exactly. That's the $1 million question, right?
How do I do that? Give me the steps. So, through positive psychology and my studies with that, which I'm very grateful to the Miss America organization for my scholarship money, because every bit of education that you all have seen me go through or put myself into has been paid for by Miss America organization. So kudos to that. the first aspect of positive psychology that we really talk about is your best self and self-care and gratitude, and really just turning inward, because as long as we are an empty vessel and you're just pouring into other people, you're eventually going to run out. You're not going to have anything else to give to others. So we have to turn inwards. In positive psychology, we practice gratitude. So keeping a gratitude journal. And actually, Oprah has come out and said that she's been keeping a gratitude journal since like 1985 or something, years before she got her show, Oprah. And if you look on YouTube, I mean, there's interviews of her opening up her gratitude journal and reading entries saying, I am so grateful that I've been able to have this platform in this show to tell the stories of others. And that was before she got the show. So just digging in and showing gratitude and really just becoming that person that you see yourself being, rather than just talking about it. Some questions that you can ask yourself in a journal. Why am I competing for this title? What am I doing here? Like, if I have that thing placed on my head that night, when it comes off every other day of the year, because I'm not wearing it every day, who am I and why am I doing this? What will this microphone enable me to do? Because that's really what we're competing for, is the attention and the spotlight that goes onto that microphone that gets placed in your hand. And really just showing a lot of, like I said, gratitude, but just positive affirmations. I read once that if you just have nothing else to say while you're driving in the car or in the shower and you're kind of feeling down and out, just start saying thank you, like over and over and over again. And it really does physically and chemically change the inside of your body, from the inside out. Just start saying thank you.
Yeah. So I love the idea of journal. It's so simple to have that journal, and it's kind of like having a conversation with yourself from a different perspective, to just journal your thoughts of gratitude. And I think as we do that, the real lesson is not in the fact that you just sit down and do it, but it's the transformation that happens within your spirit when you are engaging in those types of things. You become more grateful. You become more humble. You start to notice around you the things that are going really well, and people are attracted to that positivity. And then I loved your questions about what the heck am I doing here? And what am I doing with this title? And just the way that you say it in that way, because so often we think of it as, oh, well, if the judge asks me, why do I want to win? Then I'm going to say, and it turns into this like super robotic and like crazy answer. But the way that you're describing it, it's really about like, get real with yourself. Really, what are you doing here? What really do you want? And you don't have to make it some pageant-y answer, but just get really real. And I know in working with my clients, when they do that exercise and they do get really real, we find the gold in that makes them perfect for the title. And it's
and that's when we get the goosebump moments that I just had with you just now. And that's what those judges are waiting to feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So cool. Good. Okay. So we got to get a journal. Cool. So what is tip number 2?
Similarly, I wanted to talk about mindset, but not in the general sense that we just say you need to have a positive mindset. I wanted to really just address the idea of junk in, junk out, and what are you feeding your mind? So as a health coach, we talk a lot about crowding out the bad stuff. And so I'm constantly or consistently encouraging my clients to add more good stuff into their fridge so that there's less room for the crap. Well, in the same sense, what is the stuff that you're stuffing into your mind? Because that's what's coming back out. I haven't had a television since 2009, quite frankly, simply because I don't have time. But I can tell you what, I don't miss a minute of it. I don't even know what those shows are about, like Pretty Little Liars or Grey's Anatomy. I've never seen Sex and the City. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Oh, This Is Us that everyone's freaking out about lately. I get it. Those are great stories or whatever, but I'm feeding my mind with TED Talks, and I'm listening to podcasts like yours, and I'm reading books that encourage me on my journey, because I've tried the other route, and all it does is just cause stagnation in your mind. So my question is, what are you feeding your mind?
That's good. Rachel, you mentioned Sex and the City. So I watched Sex and the City when I was in college. Like it was popular then. And then more recently, I started watching it again. Like I was like, I remember liking this show. I started watching it again. And since then, of course, I've gone through a lot of personal development. And now, like you, I only feed myself these healthy stuff that you're describing, like good books. I listen to a lot of church podcasts, a lot of Joel Osteen and Joyce Meyer. Like I love those people. And I was watching Sex and the City, and I was just feeling yucky. I would have a physical reaction to what I was seeing and what I was hearing, and I'm like, this is not who I want to be. So almost instantly, I was like, okay, I got to turn this stuff off. Like I can't be watching it, and I just completely detoxed it. And it does make you feel so much better. It's a completely different experience to have that stuff out of your life.
Yes. And yeah, thank you for saying that and encouraging me on that, because I feel, I mean, I've always been a little bit odd, I suppose, since I was growing up. And I guess that in the pageant community, a lot of us girls find that we're more alike in that sense than we are different. But my goal for this talk was really just like to tell the truth about that stuff, because I think that a lot of the girls who are striving to be in positions like yours or mine, they think that we do have time for that stuff, or that we're cool and that we're out drinking cosmopolitans and like surfing the city or something. And I just want to say, like, flat out, like, we don't have time for that stuff. And I haven't ever indulged in those shows. I guess my college guilty pleasure was Prison Break. I did watch that. And that's the time in my life when I was not accomplishing as much. That was before Miss Florida. And just to your point, when you start to watch those things, it fills your mind with the feeling that you're missing out on something, and then you start thinking like, oh, I need to make more wine dates with my friends, or I need to go out and go to the movie theater, or I need to go to that party, or I need to do this. And when you don't watch those things, then I think that FOMO, is that what they're saying these days, it kind of disappears, because you're out of sight, out of mind. I don't know what I'm missing.
And also it's like about, they say that you're a product of the 10 people that you surround yourself with. And I think that this is a perfect example of that. When you're surrounding yourself with the characters of Sex and the City, then those are the people you're going to emulate. Like, that's not who you want to be. You want to be like the people who are doing the TED Talks, or who are doing the awesome podcasts, who are writing the books that we all want to see. You mentioned that you have some book recommendations that I loved. Could you share some of your top favorites?
So right before I won Miss Florida, I mentioned I was going through a lot of personal things, and I found this book called 1 Month to Live by, I want to say it was Carrie Shook and his wife. It's a pastor. It's a husband and wife pastor. And 1 Month to Live is this 30-day study of yourself. So this kind of relates back to our first point of really just digging in and turning the spotlight around on yourself, and just saying like, all right, I know that I want to be on stage under a spotlight, but really, like, what do I see when I shine the spotlight in the privacy of my own home? And this book just asks these like questions that cause you to be like, oh my gosh, why am I not living my life like this every single day? Because it poses the question that you're going to die in a month. So who would you call to apologize to? Who would you forgive? How would you be living your life? What would you wake up in the morning and do? Because you have 30 days. And it just does a really good job of kind of like punching you in the face and being like, wake up.
I've never heard of this one before. I'm going to have to get this.
Yeah, it's great. And they have, you could do it like I led a small group right when I was going through all of that. And it just like really saved me at the time from falling into a really deep, dark place. Yeah. The other book is Power of Positive Thinking, which is a classic. It just has this incredible timeless information in it that never goes out of style. Same thing with How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. We all know the Carnegie School. I mean, that guy wrote that in like the 1920s, and it's still applicable to today.
Yeah.
And then Mindset by Carol Dweck. So that was a reading list book that I had to read for positive psychology. And once you dive into that book by Carol Dweck, then you find out there's this whole slew of positive psychology researchers that are writing all these books on things like grit and resiliency. And they are putting in their time right now. Those people are very forward thinking, and they're almost at the, I would say like the tipping point of self-help, where they've taken the self-help movement from the 1990s, and they're applying research to it. So if you're the type of mind that wants proof as to why you should think this way or why you should keep a gratitude journal, they'll give you the numbers. They'll give you the research.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I had never heard of Mindset. I had one person recommend it to me, and now I've heard it a million times. It's a phenomenal book, such an easy read too.
Yeah.
And you're right about it. Just gives you, and it's kind of like deep, so it's confusing to explain to our audience today, but girls got to read it because it's so good. Cool. So we've got our spirituality, we've got mindset right and tight. What is tip number 3?
The next thing I wanted to talk about was platform clarity and authenticity. So I know that you talk a lot about this because I've listened to many of your episodes while driving all over the giant state of Florida.
Cool.
And you know, what I mentioned at the beginning as far as what I was doing before I won Miss Florida in 2009, and I was actually out there doing the work. I was speaking and I was having to have these conversations with these people who were kind of fact checking me, saying, well, why should we support hope? What are the needs? Why should we care about this issue right now? And at that time, we were going through the Great Recession. And so it was very timely to be discussing hunger and homelessness, especially with families, because there were people facing homelessness that had never been in that situation before, which was quite evocative and quite thought-provoking for a lot of people because they just hadn't had their eyes open to it. And I was volunteering, of course, with my family's foundation. I was in the food pantry. I was meeting with these families who were going through this and hearing their actual stories. So I think a lot of times we pick a platform because we have a family member who has that illness, or we experienced a death in the family because of an illness, or we are music majors and we want to talk about the importance of music education because it just makes sense. And I don't see enough of people putting in the actual physical time and work. And the best preparation is just getting out there in the front lines and just talking about it with people, discussing it. It really just creates this sense of authenticity that the judges can't deny, because we all know that the best thing they want to hear about is a real story from your platform. Like, what did you experience with somebody that was going through this issue that you're trying to address, and how did it affect you? And then when you tell that story and it comes from your heart, like we talked about earlier, it just either brings a tear to their eye or causes goosebumps, and it's those moments when they connect with us.
Yeah, so true. You are absolutely right. And the experience that someone gets when they're in the field. You know, the field work is so much different than just talking about it or having the stats and the figures, you know, but actually getting out and engaging with people around these issues. You just understand it so much deeper, and you see areas and opportunities where you can kind of step in and help out that much more. So yeah, you definitely nailed it. And you're right. I agree with you that is one of the things that I think oftentimes people get surprised by when they show up to their state or national pageant and they're looking around and all these other women have done so much deep work, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, it's easy stuff. You could have done it too. You know, you could have attended the galas and gone to the events and plugged in where you need to and address the conversations. But so I guess it's people want to do the red carpets more than they want to do the work, you know, but I know that deep down, pageant women want to do the work. You know, it's so important because that's really where we change lives. So, and you're right, got to do it before the pageant, long before the pageant.
It's so important. And I just wanted to say that no matter if you're holding a national title like Miss United States or a local title like Miss Suncoast, there are always going to be events that we have to attend and that we go to where we feel like, am I bigger than this? Or are there enough people here for me to actually be making an impact? Or is this event poorly planned and I feel silly being here? Because those thoughts have crossed all of our minds. And I told you from the beginning I was going to be completely frank in this interview. And we all experience those times. But I'll tell you what, some of the best experiences and best stories come from those small events where you feel like, I feel a little silly being here, because you actually get to have conversations with people one-on-one. And one of my points inside platform clarity and authenticity was going to be, have these discussions with people and ask their opinions about it. Talk to other volunteers, talk to the head of the organization while you're there, because that's where you learn the statistics. That's where you learn the real information. You don't have to read it on the internet. You go and you hear it, and those statistics and those numbers, that's where it stays with you. That's when it really sticks.
Yeah, so true. You're right. Yeah. Then you're not memorizing things. It's like in you.
Yep.
That's so
Yep.
awesome. Good, Rachael. Okay, so what is tip number 4?
Physical and nutritional cleanup. So
This
could talk
is
about.
your jam, girl. This is like, yeah, I love it. All right, give it to us. What do we need
Give
to
me
know?
another hour on this.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to be coming out with a 12-week course, what will be broken up into thirds, which is going to be discussing removing, repairing, and replenishing. Removing being detoxification and actually doing away with those foods that are causing inflammation in the body, and processed foods, that type of thing, once and for all. So many of us are addicted to things that we don't even know we're addicted to. Sugar. There's something in dairy called casein, Casein, that they're now finding is as addictive as opiates. We're talking about doing away with caffeine in large doses. We're talking about taking out processed foods altogether. So if it has more than 4 or 5 ingredients and you can't name them any longer, that's not food. It's that simple. There was this book when we were in college, and I won't say the curse word, but it was skinny biatch. And the girl, am I allowed to say that?
Yes.
This girl, the author, she was so effective because she was so frank. She said, listen, there's no other species on earth that drinks another animal's milk past infancy. Why are you drinking cow's milk? It's weird. And a lot of people quit dairy because of that. So I think that needs to start happening again, but with a number of foods, and that is processed sugar. We were never meant to have this much sugar in our lives. And if you start turning over the label and simply just watch your sugar, you'll see some big changes just with that alone. The next section of my course is going to be repairing. So really discussing how we repair your gut. There is a whole slew of information out there about your gut being your second brain. When we say something doesn't feel right, or my intuition is telling me I shouldn't do that, or I feel really bloated, or my stomach just never feels good, or I don't want to wear that outfit because I just feel like I'm poking out everywhere. That's all your gut. That's something that now scientists and nutritionists and doctors are identifying as your microbiome. And your microbiome contains more cells in it alone than your entire body combined. So there is a lot going on in there that, I mean, I would say that they haven't even begun to understand it fully yet, and they're working on it. But it is something that we absolutely need to be careful about. There are these organisms inside there that a lot of us killed off when we were younger by accident by taking antibiotics. So that killed off all the good stuff in that part of our bodies. There is an ecosystem down there. You can kind of think of it like an ecosystem. And when you mess one thing up in an ecosystem, it throws off everything else. So really just discussing how we repair that part of our bodies, because it is repairable through foods and through self-care. And then the third aspect of the course will be replenishing, and that's learning all about superfoods. You might be thinking, some people might be saying, what is kale? They're still questioning, why do I need to incorporate dark leafy greens? Then I have my clients who they're on the kale train. Now they're asking, what are goji berries, and what's spirulina, and what's chlorella, and why do I need to be taking ginger shots at the juice bar? Those types of questions I love, because that means they're tuning in, and we're all finally realizing that this ancient foods, these foods that have been in other dietary cultures, and other cultures as their dietary staples for centuries, are coming back around, which is awesome. And I'm so for everybody just soaking in that information. But I do recognize that the health and wellness world and the nutrition world is changing rapidly. And it sometimes feels like you're drinking out of a fire hydrant when you're trying to get that information, especially if you wait till 90 days before the pageant or 60 days or 30 days, you're not going to be effective in those changes to your body.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a huge, huge advocate of cleaning up nutritionally. It changes everything. It changes clarity in your mind to be able to speak better.
That is so true. When I started to remove caffeine from my diet, and I still have about 1 or 2 cups of tea every morning, most mornings. But when I started removing like massive amounts of coffee and stuff, I noticed I sleep better at night. I have so much more clarity. I have so much more energy because my heart isn't like thumping a million miles a minute, dragging all of my adrenal glands dry, like completely different change. And the sugar thing too, like that's such a small little thing that somebody could do immediately. Just like, hey, remove the sugar. Like not how easy is that? Because I think many of us are addicted to sugar, myself included. I've gone through moments like that where it's so hard. I just need to eat a cookie, But as soon as that comes out, boom, what a game changer, performance, physicality, mentally, so many different areas. Yeah. Huge difference.
Yes. Thank you for being my validation on that. And I will say, you asked for what's a step that they could do today. So from my perspective, and this may sound extreme because a lot of people are not realizing how much they're taking in as far as sugar goes. Yeah. They're now saying that the average American is having about 140 grams of sugar per day. For math purposes, let's say 160, which some people are. There's 4 grams of sugar in a teaspoon of sugar. So if we were to divide 160 by 4, that's, what is that, 40? 40 teaspoons that people are shoveling in per day. Wow. If we were to go back to like the 1800s or even the 1910s or something like that, the average amount that somebody was having in a day was like 1 teaspoon, if that, because they couldn't get their hands on it. Yeah. There wasn't the abundance that we have now. And so we have progressively increased that so much that we don't even realize how much we're having. So I challenge everybody listening and my clients to stay below 24 grams per day. And to put that in perspective, that's 6 teaspoons. That's still more than they were having in the 1800s. Yeah. And then to put that in even further perspective, if you go into Starbucks and you see those little cases that they now have next to the register that we all look in there and we're like, oh, there's healthy food options. Well, there's the naked juices, right? So turn around the label, and what you will find is that a lot of those naked, healthy, natural, organic juices are containing 36 to 44 grams of sugar per bottle, sometimes 2 servings in a bottle. So that's upwards of 60 grams in a bottle. And that's 2 days, that's 3 days worth of sugar in a bottle. So just really start there. Turn around your labels, look at the sugar content. Calories you shouldn't be worrying about so much. Fat is not the enemy, it's sugar.
Yeah, amen. And so, like, for perspective, how much sugar is in like a piece of fruit, a banana or an apple or something like that?
Great question. So usually a banana or an apple is going to have about, I think, 17 to 20 grams. Don't quote me on that. I could look it up for you really quick. And what's interesting, though, is that we were also never meant to just take 12 apples, stick them in a juicer with the juice of some ginger, and then just chug that. Yeah. Because what that's doing is the same thing as soda or a glass of orange juice. When an apple was created, the perfect amount of vitamins, the perfect amount of fiber was put into that perfect little package, and you were meant to eat the entire apple. Because I could go really geeky here, but when you're putting that into your body, it knows what to do with all of those individual pieces. And when it's pulling each of those individual pieces apart, it's slowing down the intake of sugar. So when we put the whole thing in, it slows down the intake. When we just guzzle down the juice from an apple, your body is down there going like, oh my gosh, this is so much sugar. We don't know what to do with all of this. What happened to the rest of the apple?
Yeah, good point. Exactly. Like, this isn't how God made it. Yeah. Oh,
Right.
so true. Wow, Rachael. And that is a really excellent challenge that's not so challenging, but it will raise the awareness to just flip it over. Flip over your yogurt, that you think is
Oh,
so
yogurt
great,
is
you know?
oh,
Yeah,
whew.
yeah. Flip over even like I even look at things like a can of beans, just to be
Right.
like, how much sugar is really in this? And to note the grams of sugar. So remind me again, what is our goal per day? 24?
I would say below, yeah, you want to be at 24, if not below.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay, awesome. Wow. Okay, totally doable. Yeah. And I would
You will
love,
be pretty angry the first 10 days. If you're addicted to sugar, you will have headaches, you will be irritable, you might be snappy at people, and you're going to be wondering, like, what's going on? I feel like I shouldn't be this angry. Well, check in because you were addicted to sugar. That is what's going on, and your body is having withdrawals.
yeah. So, how many days, if for those listening, for myself included, at times I've had that where I have, even if it's because, like you're describing, if I eat a banana in the morning and an apple with lunch and then have a dessert after dinner, it's like that's a lot of sugar in one, even though I think it's my healthy sugar. But
Right.
that's still, it adds up. It becomes a lot, right? So, somebody who's even eating a diet like that, how many days should we really be expecting to totally withdraw and detox from sugar?
10 to 14 is generally where my clients are feeling very angry at me for enforcing these things on them. And then once they get past that point, I, I could promise you there's like this epiphany where one day you wake up and you feel lighter than you've ever felt in your life. You wake up with more energy at the moment that you wake up than you will have all day. And you just feel so much better. And it's not till you can get to that point, that 14-day point, that you'll experience it. And once people have that feeling and then they mess up or they have a hiccup and they eat a chocolate bar or they eat a Kit Kat and they start to feel down again, they go, that wasn't worth it. It
Yeah,
wasn't worth it. I'm done.
yeah. So true. Yeah. Wow. I love this. Gosh. Health coaching from Rachael Todd. This is excellent. When's the course coming out? Tell us about that.
Well, I'm hoping for the spring. I've got quite
Cool.
a lot on my plate right now. I'm working on an ebook first, and that'll be like 30 pages of just basically what we spoke about today, kind of just skimming the surface. And then the course will go really in depth into detoxing your mind, body, spirit. So everything is going to be about removing, repairing, and replenishing in all aspects.
Yeah, I love this. And I know that you are already doing a lot of work on social media and on your website. People can find information there. Can you share with our audience where can people find you?
Absolutely, yes. So my name is spelled Rachael, and then my last name is Todd, like the guy's name. So if you can just remember those two things, everything's pretty simple from there. RachelTodd.com. I believe Instagram is Rachel.Todd because Rachael Todd wasn't available. And then Twitter is _Rachael Todd. And on Instagram, I really try to post uplifting quotes as well as some tips that you may not know about. And I travel quite a bit, so I'm pretty good at the travel hacks and staying healthy on the road. I pride myself on those. And my website has a lot of more information about how you can get in contact with me directly and work with me because I actually take clients just like you and I are speaking today from all over the country or wherever I find myself because that's my passion is spreading this information and infusing it into as many women as possible because I believe that if every woman woke up feeling and living her best life, that we could truly change the world because we are some powerful, powerful creatures.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Wow. Rachael, thank you so much for this and for what you do for people. I know following you on social media and stuff, I've so enjoyed your journey. I love what you're able to share. You truly do an amazing job of being authentic and still providing incredible value to people from a really real place. So I just want to honor you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks again for being on the Win a Pageant podcast. So awesome chatting with you today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I listened to you and I just thought, well, one day, I visualize things. And so I'm driving along and I'm like, I'm going to be on there. And so here we are.
Here we are. That's how it happens, girl. Cool. Oh, wow. Well, it is such a pleasure. Thank you for chatting, and I'll be talking with you soon.
Okay. Nice to see you. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Win a Pageant podcast. Such a pleasure meeting with you every Wednesday. And hey, listen, if you are up for taking the challenge, would you just leave a comment below that says, hey, I'm going to start doing this? Like, yes, maybe raise your hand, give me one of those finger pointing emojis or something, and just say that, yeah, you're in, that you will look at the back. And all we're asking is just look at the back of the sugar so you can count how much sugar you're bringing into your body every day and try to keep it within that 24 grams. I promise it's going to radically change your life. So leave us a comment below. Let us know if you are in, and I will see you on the next Win a Pageant Wednesday.